I know I've talked about some of these things before, but I felt like I wanted to reinstate some of them and elaborate a little bit, because I just consistently find them to be helpful little tools when I'm trying to learn a new move, and either like it's a bit scary or I'm getting a bit stuck with it. So I find these are the most common things that are usually happening or that help. The first one, and a huge one in general, is just that I go slower than slow. I mean, slow. I will start a session and say I'm going to do it this slow for the entire session. And I also put on slow music so that I'm not even tempted to go faster. I do this anyway with skating. When I start skating, I pretty much always start with a slow song or several slow songs, so that there's nothing in my brain that's like, oh, I have to speed up and match the music, or, you know, slower than slow. I've found that like when I help other people, not only with skating, even with like guitar or learning anything, people have wanted to really speed up. And I really find the thing to be true. The slower I go, the faster I get there. And so I just like giving myself permission to go slower than slow until I'm fiending to go faster, because I've been going so slow for so long. I also do find that if I'm learning something from someone else, or like someone's trying to show me something, often they are going very fast, for me at least, for my brain. And I usually just need to take the first part of it and go away and work on it myself, because yeah, I just need things very, very slow for a bit of time until I feel like, okay, now I can move on. Another thing I do is I just put wrist guards on, because I find that that helps my brain relax. It's like one less thing to think about. There can be even just a minute amount of tension, of like worry or a little bit fear going in, and this just can take a little bit of an edge off. So if it's a new move, especially that feels a little more risky, I just put wrist guards on. The next one is that I will break something down even smaller, into tinier and tinier bits. So if it's some sort of turn, then I only do a quarter of the turn, or even less than that. Or if it's a move where my right foot has to go behind my left foot to start the move, I just do the right foot going behind the left foot over and over and over. I'll show some examples, but basically just breaking something down and only focusing on that tiny bit for a slow, long time. If it's a new move that requires a specific edge in a way that I've never used it before, but I know another move that applies that same edge, I will do that other move for a while to remind myself, my body, what that feels like, and then try to find a way to maneuver it into the new move. So just reminding myself of what that edge feels like, okay, I already know how to use this edge. Now how do I apply it to this? I'll show some examples of that. Same edge. Same edge. Crossed outer forward is what I'm working on now, which is this edge, but going forward. So things to lead up to that and get used to that edge. Heel, lead, corkscrew, which I already knew how to do. Also these, same edge. Getting used to leaning on that outer edge and going forward. Then a heel, lead, corkscrew, picking up the back foot. This one's a classic, bend the knees, but I'm also gonna add get low. For me, sometimes getting lower into the ground gives a different idea than just bending the knees. I come from a past of dancing, which was a lot of lifting on the toes especially, which I don't really feel applies very much to skating. Like everything feels like it has to be more into the ground, like heavier down, and when I'm into the ground, then I'm forced to be leaning on the right edges or giving the right amount of pressure. I really feel like I don't have to lift much aside from like a hair of the particular wheels and edges I have to lift. But so bending the knees, probably more than you think. Like, watch footage back. You might not be bending as much as it feels like you're bending, and that can really change something for me. Like if I realize I haven't been bending enough and suddenly I'm like, oh, maybe I should get lower, and suddenly I can do the move. So bending the knees, get lower. The difference between these 2-foot pivots with kind of straight legs, it's much harder, much easier to get tangled up than if I'm really bending. Same with those heel-led corkscrews. If I'm trying to stay up here, I'm going to get caught up. Versus if I really bend into it, I have much more room to not get tangled up. Back corkscrew, not really bending much. Back corkscrew, really bending into it. Toe spins was something I really needed to bend into, especially at first, because I was always uneven with the weight in each foot. So the only way that I could really get even was to think about really digging into the ground with both feet. And now I still sort of, if I'm doing toe spins, I'm not very high, because once I get higher, my weight gets uneven. Another classic that I don't think can be overstated, because I seem to forget it almost every time I'm learning a new move, is that my body and my head are going in the direction that I want to be going. Sometimes that could be the clincher, like the game changer that makes a turn add 1 or 2 more turns, is just literally putting my head and my body in the direction I want to go. Because as I'm learning, sometimes, I'm just trying to figure out where my body's supposed to be, so I'm focusing, and so this doesn't come right away for me. Like, and sometimes it's actually too much to add it in too soon. So I'm like, I'm just going to stick with the basics right now before I start thinking about adding the body and the head. But once I start to feel a little more comfortable, even just staying on my feet in a move, I'm going to start adding the head and the body, and that can really change a lot. Also thinking of it like, where do you want to end up? Picking a spot that you want to end up looking at, like, oh, I need to end up looking at that car. I need to end up looking at that sign. So not only like where your body's going, but where you want to end up, knowing that, and your body ending up there. Front cork, not really thinking about it. Looking where I'm going, thinking about where I want to end up. And if I wanted to do more rotations, I'd have to think more about looking in the direction. Thinking about where I want to end up facing this tire. I'm looking at a tire right now. Okay, this is one of my favorites, and kind of the reason I made this video was bookending a move. So this just started happening organically when I was learning moves and I was starting to learn to connect moves. So if I'm working on a move that I'm kind of getting stuck on, or I'm starting to get, but it's still not consistently happening, I will bookend it with other moves. I'll either just put one before it, or I'll put one after, or I'll put both. I'll put 3 together so that my attention is now subtly on more so the transitioning from one to the next, or remembering what's coming next, and it relaxes something, and then I start to get that move more naturally because it's being bookended. I would say the most often I'm doing one right after. So if I just want to do something simple and do 2 moves, for example, and I'm trying to get a back corkscrew, I'll pick something I already know, like, so I'll do a back corkscrew into a front corkscrew, or I'll do a back corkscrew into a heel toe spin, or something that naturally goes from one to the other, but now I'm having to focus on something else at the same time. So again, it's just taking my attention off. I would say this one in particular really can put me over a hump of finally getting something. I have a great clear memory of an example of this, which was I was working on 1-foot spins for a while, and I was mostly just standing and trying to do them from a dead stop. And I reached out to Chelsea from I Dream of Skating because she was really starting to get consistent 1-foot spins. And I was like, do you have any ideas of something that can go before it? And she said, actually, yeah, doing a front dip into a 1 foot spin. And that the difference, I mean, the second I started doing that, I was getting 1 foot spins way more consistently, more rotations. So it just like cemented that idea that, I just need things that go from one to the other, and that really can just click something and make it happen because I've taken the focus off just that one thing. Front dip, 1 foot spin. To help me get pivots, I put them at the back end of a downtown. 1, 2, 3. Downtown. 1, 2, 3. I don't have these yet, but another example is I'm working on these double foot outer back spins. I mean, it's an illusion, it's a double foot because one is doing most of the work, but I'm trying to get them together. So I was doing this, now doing another one, but with 1 foot up, and now doing donkey. Another one I do with that is the double outer edge, again, and now up on the plug. I don't have jam plug spins at all consistently yet, so one I'm working on with that is a scratch spin, jam plug spin, cross spin. Scratch spin, jam plug spin, cross spin. And then sometimes jump. I thought of one more that I do, and that is sometimes I'm pushing too hard into the edge that I'm supposed to be pushing into, and so I actually think of pushing into in-between wheels. So like if I'm supposed to be pushing into this wheel, sometimes I'll think of pushing into this middle piece between my two wheels. Or if I'm supposed to be pushing in this outer front wheel, then I actually will think of pushing right here because I'm pushing now too much here and the foot's coming off of the ground. So sometimes like you don't want the wheels to come up, but you do want to specifically press into one, and I just find like I'm overdoing it, so I'll think of pushing into some in-between point, and that helps balance me out. So I'm sure there are more of these that I'm not remembering right now. Please share yours if you have some that you notice really help you. I also noticed changing the song can really help. Like suddenly there can just be the right song coming on, and somehow the rhythm of that or something makes me able to move with the move in a specific way that I start to get it. Also, just a little bonus one to add is that changing your wheels to a harder wheel. I noticed that earlier on, like I kept trying to do an outer edge turn and these different turns that I just like wasn't getting after a long period of time. And once I switched to a harder wheel that slid a little better, I had way more rotations almost instantly. So that can just be a little thing to try too. If you notice you're getting stuck and you're like, what is it? Just try a harder wheel. Let me know if you have any. Thanks for watching. Bye.